we have different things that we do and we talk about and everything, so.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Okay.
So just right quick, you know that I'm in your marketing group.
Yeah.
And I'm a male massage therapist.
Right.
And it's important for people to know, like, and trust their therapist
Mhm.
before they come over. And I'm just trying to find out what is important to you about the match between client and therapist, and what you look for when you go to someone's space.
Right, right, yeah. And some of the things that I think might be good to address. So let me ask you, the people that you're looking for, have they had a massage before, ever?
Yeah,
Okay,
they've had a massage before ever because they're excited about making that kind of self-care part of their wellness journey.
right, okay, okay. So not necessarily somebody who's doing it for the first time.
Not necessarily
Okay.
brand new, although I wouldn't turn them away.
Right,
You just have to find out if it's going to be a good experience or not, what
Right.
they're shopping for.
right, right, okay, okay. You started already? Oh, you have, okay.
Yeah, this is Shelley Rael, am I saying it right?
Yeah,
Dietitian, nutritionist, and she's taken time out of her busy afternoon to talk to me. I'm Jason Goldberg.
so one of the things that I offered to come talk to you about, Jason, is that years ago, and I've had massage for years, and for many years I was very specific. If I went to a place and it was somebody like a spa or a salon that had a massage therapist and I was scheduling a massage, if they ever asked for gender preferences, I always said female. This is for many, many years, mostly because I personally wasn't comfortable. It wasn't so much I was fearful of the massage therapist, it was more I wasn't comfortable myself. And I don't know if that's making sense, but it was more I hadn't become completely comfortable in my own skin, so I still didn't want other people to see me.
It was more about you than about them?
In hindsight, I recognize that now. Yes, and it
Am
was
I-
more about me and my comfort level. It wasn't that I was afraid of a male massage therapist as much as I didn't want other people to see me. And that's something that's I've only just understood recently.
We're all like that on some level.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It takes a while to get comfortable.
Yeah, and there was one time I was training, not one time, when I was training for my first marathon, and I was getting massage pretty regularly in the training process, which really I think helped immensely in my being able to continue with the training, because it's pretty hardcore, it's very physically hard on the body. Is that one of the times that I scheduled my appointment, it wasn't asked or I didn't specify female massage therapist. And I was a little taken aback when I found out who my massage therapist was.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much who it was, but that it was a male.
Mm-hmm.
But I was already there, the appointment was scheduled, wasn't anything I could do or I didn't feel I could do about it. And I really needed this as part of my recovery, my training, the recovery from the training.
Marathon.
Yeah, I think that day, I can't remember, it was probably 12, 13 miles that I had run that day.
Wow.
And let me just say, anybody training for a marathon or any type of endurance event, even half marathon, put that as part of the training because it really helps. And the experience was, again, me being nervous, but also feeling I needed the massage physically. And afterwards, the massage was still a massage. There was no difference in what happened. I got my muscles cleared out and got the recovery massage. It was a deep tissue or a sports massage. But in the end, the actual experience was no different because my eyes are closed, I'm face down, and I'm getting face down, face up, but eyes were closed. The massage was just that, and I couldn't have told anybody whether it had been a male or a female who was giving me the massage, other than I knew it ahead of time.
It was like a blind taste test.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So part of it was recognizing that, it seems so ridiculous to say it, but these are professionals. They are doing a job and they're not doing anything other than what they're trained to do. So I think another was that some of the fears that may be involved or hesitation that may be involved is this idea that it's something other than a professional relationship, a professional experience.
Oh, transference and complicating gender roles.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
And that.
Just, I mean, and there's just so much out there that a lot of times, you know, women are going through a period of more empowerment now than ever before in my lifetime. But again, it's still something where people aren't entirely sure what to expect, especially if they've never done massage before. Now, if they've done massage before and it's been done well, I don't imagine there would be the same hesitation that might have been in the past.
So someone's experience colors the way they'll react whether they get a male or a female therapist.
I think so, yeah. I've known some people, I've only had, probably in my experience, in hindsight, there was one massage that I didn't feel better afterwards. I actually felt more pain afterwards, and it was part of me not communicating that it was too intense in the process.
Mhm.
But that was probably the most, it was painful because I was more sore from the massage than I was starting out.
Did you know the therapist?
No, this is my first time with that therapist.
Oh.
And nearly every therapist I've ever worked with, experienced, I say I can take intensity and I twitch, my muscles twitch, and as they're releasing. But I have to say too, part of that is on me, is if the intensity's too much and I don't say something, how are they supposed to know? How is the therapist supposed to know? They can't possibly know if I don't tell them that. It's just part of me personally, my personality is not to offend somebody, and say lighten up or whatever. And that was just my own fault. But I'd have to say that was my negative experience, and I can't remember whether it was male or female, to tell you the truth. It was a massage therapist, that's all it was.
So it had more to do with communication than the therapist.
Right.
And you didn't feel better afterwards, so
No.
that's not the kind of treatment or session that you like to repeat or rebook.
Right.
Because it's not what you were looking for.
Right, and I have friends who have told me they've gone to some places where they've not had a good experience. It was too hard, the next time it was too late. And so they felt it was more painful or not worth their time. And I think it's on us as the client to be comfortable with communicating with our therapist. Of course, every therapist I've ever gone to talks to me for a few minutes beforehand. And in my experiences, all but one time they understood or they took into consideration what I was asking. And the one time is when I made the mistake of going to a mall chair massage.
They don't take much time.
No, and I had a terrible headache, and it was more like an urgent care type visit, and they just did their what to me felt like a routine and didn't focus on the one thing that I wanted. I could have had them working 10 minutes on my shoulders and neck, but they did like my fingertips and all this stuff, and I didn't feel I was heard. That was the only time, so I have not done a mall chair massage. I don't even know if those are done anymore. But that was the only time I've not felt heard. But I have to say too, is I also know when I'm going to have a massage to communicate with the therapist, you don't have to worry about my calves or whatever. I need it all be a back day.
It's important that we listen.
Right, right.
If you find 15 minutes into the massage I haven't gotten to that part that you wanted me to, then I didn't listen very well.
Right, right. And I also recognize, I was gonna say, I don't know how many massages I've had in my life, I don't know, 50 we'll say. Never once has it been the same experience, and I should say the same process. Most of the time the experience is a positive one, and I feel better afterwards, or I felt it was a good thing to have. But I've never had anybody where I've had, like, they're going through a routine, even if it's been the same massage therapist, it's not like they start here and do this, 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 and this. It's really been, in my experience, that it's whatever works for that day for that treatment.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different. And for me, I'm a routine person, so it's just something where I've recognized that it's not a one-size-fits-all, as a lot of things aren't. Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
important to research your therapist's strengths and weaknesses and make sure you two relate.
Right, right,
It's
yeah.
someone you want to spend an
Yeah.
hour or 90 minutes with,
Right,
touching you.
right. And I have to say the hour is my favorite. 90 minutes I've done a couple times, but mostly that's because I know there's just been some intense things going on for me physically and mentally, that the 90 minutes is better. But personally, my best time is 60 minutes for that.
So would you say it has more than just physical benefits?
Absolutely.
There's a non-physical component.
Absolutely. And anybody who knows me, or nearly anybody who knows me, knows that I'm a pretty high-strung, tightly wound person. I acknowledge that. And I've actually gotten better over the years. But
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time with meditation. I have a hard time with quieting my mind. And there have been times where I remember a therapist telling me at one point, "Shelley, you're clenching your jaw." That was not the therapist's fault in that they weren't doing their work, but my mind was going of all these things that I could have been doing besides just laying down for that moment. And I didn't know it until he told me. But when he said that, I immediately realized I was wasting my time getting a massage if I wasn't going to embrace the full experience. So what you were saying is, it's not just the physical, but allowing myself, and this was several years ago, but I still remember very clearly him saying this to me, is that I need to not just relax the physical body, but I've got to let my mind be okay with closing down for an hour.
Be in the moment.
Yes.
And let go.
Yes. And I have to say, for somebody like me that takes practice, it's not like I can just say, okay, I'm just going to leave all the garbage at the front door. It's just something where I do have to remind myself, and him saying that to me was like, okay, I have to remind myself. So most of the time nowadays, my thought is this:
What's that?
I would totally have my own massage room in my house when I win the lottery. So that way I could experience this at any time. So be in the moment and recognizing that this is such a fantastic experience that I would literally build a room where I could have this whenever I wanted.
Cool.
And have somebody on retainer as well. So
Right. It can't just be you in the room.
Right.
It's got to be.
But really, and that just happens to be my thought. Helps me stay relaxed and in the moment, that I enjoy that experience, and it's helpful for that. Now, there was some times, for the most part, I shouldn't say this, I've gone back and forth. I have used massage as treatment.
Mm-hmm.
I've used it for a treat
Mm-hmm.
or a reward.
Nice. I like that. Treatment or treat.
Right. Or just part of the self-care. And when I was using it as treatment for, I get migraines quite a bit, that I was going every 2 weeks to try to help alleviate the migraines that I was having. as a treat, I was using it as I was getting through milestones of some goals I had over the course of a few years. And in part, like when I was training for the marathon, as I was more consistent with it, I became more consistent with my training. I incorporated that, the massage as part of the reward, but also so it was part treat, part treatment in that case.
Yes.
Now, as I'm moving to a point where I'm not training in that intensity anymore, I need to focus on my self-care. I'm allotting time for consistent massage to help just with managing stress, anxiety, and allowing that time to just step away from things and having it be just a time to check out
So
for
now-
a period of time.
Excellent, all great points. I'm glad you could share it. So
Yeah.
not to put you on the spot, and
Yeah.
you didn't know I was going to ask you, but do you have a male or female therapist based on the topic of our discussion? Or do you
I
have
go.
neither?
I have neither in that I go to a place that has several massage therapists.
It's your location more
It's a
so.
right. It's a place. My parents give me gift certificates every Christmas for one place in town where I've never had a bad experience. So I call and I get a treatment, and I don't have a specific gender preference for the therapist because I've never had a bad experience there.
Right, and if you had to sell that place, whatever makes it awesome for you, what 2 or 3 things would you say about it?
In that I've never had a bad experience there, so it's always been a positive.
Good massage.
Yeah, the massage, I've never had a bad massage there. And so selling that is that I know that no matter, I trust that place, that no matter who I get, it will be a good.
Staff is on point.
Right,
They
right,
hired the right people.
right. And the environment, I just love the environment. And there's been some places where I've gone to a salon that also has massage, and it felt to me that I don't want to be in a place where I'm smelling the hair dye, nail stuff.
You're not going for beauty.
Right. I'm going for the massage, and having those other things there is distracting to me. So where I go is specifically a spa that does body treatments. So the environment is important to me, as well as knowing that I'm going to have a good experience. Now, when I was doing it for my migraines, when I was going every couple of weeks, it was somebody that I knew that did it out of her own home. And so there wasn't other people there, and I don't like to deal with other people. That's part of why I like massage. I don't talk during my massage, but I went to her home, and it was still a very welcoming place, and I always had a great experience. So even though it wasn't in a facility or a spa, so to speak, it was her home, it was still a very welcoming, clean seems such a trite word, but that it still felt like it was a spa area.
It was nice, well kept.
Yes, yes.
Spoke to you about hygienic and
Yes.
that
Yeah.
it was okay to be there.
Right, and it's like, this is something that not everybody may think of, but I knew she was changing the sheets between treatments, which seems like it's pretty obvious, but not everybody might think of that.
That is something.
She would step out for the few minutes for me to get on the table and get ready and everything, and it was always a very calm place. It felt calm.
A good vibe.
Yeah, very much so.
And you got along with her.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
got your migraine solved.
Yes, for the most part, yeah, yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, as much as the migraines that were caused by tension, it really helped it quite a bit.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anything else? I'm trying to think of anything else about my experience. I'm just recognizing too, there are some people who are never going to be comfortable with massage.
It's not for them.
It's not for them.
Yeah.
My husband was given a gift of a massage, and it actually stressed him out more, the idea of it. than relaxing. So it's not for everybody. But my dad has said to my husband, you don't know what you're missing. It's a great thing. So it's just like you said.
Good for your dad.
My dad loves it. My mom and dad get them regularly.
Actually.
But I've recognized that it's kind of like trying to convince somebody that Brussels sprouts taste good. I don't like Brussels sprouts. They're disgusting. Won't eat them. I don't care how you cook them. They're not for me. And I'm okay with that.
Right.
Nobody needs to convince me to eat Brussels sprouts. I got that taken care of in other aspects. And I recognize that for me to try to convince my husband to get a massage because it would be awesome, that's my view that it's an awesome experience. For him, it doesn't sound enjoyable. He'd rather go golf or go on a bike ride while I'm getting a massage.
Massages his Brussels sprouts.
Right, exactly. Massages his Brussels sprouts.
So he has all these other
Yeah.
ways to let off steam.
Exactly.
That's important.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
he's a very different personality type than me. In that, for the most part, he's a laid-back personality, and that's just acknowledging that it's not for him. And I've realized I've got to quit trying to convince him that it's something he should try.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we can convince him of other things.
Yeah.
I'm sure he likes to have his golf time to himself.
Yeah, yeah. And that's just like, I've said, if we ever do a vacation where we could have a couples massage, it's gonna be me getting twice the treatment.
It's gonna be a couple of massages.
Yeah, exactly.
For you.
Exactly. And that's just something where it's like, I am not trying to project my thoughts and beliefs about it than on him.
Oh, yeah, the last thing I wanna do is try to convince someone that they need a massage.
Right, yeah.
If you need one, you know.
Yeah, and if it's something that you're even a little bit intrigued about, I'd say, like I said, I go to one place where I've never had a bad experience, but asking people, who do you go to? Or who's a person you would recommend? Just asking around, who would you recommend? And that's something where if the place I go to suddenly was gone tomorrow, I would ask around and say, hey,
Get a recommendation.
tell me, who have you gone to where you've had a good experience?
So
Yeah.
word of mouth means a lot to you.
Very much so, very
Okay.
much so. Yeah, and like I said, I go to one place that I'll probably go to pretty much forever unless I'm gifted a massage. But it's just, I have to say, trial and error in that if it wasn't a good experience, certainly communicate that, and that it was, maybe you didn't feel better a couple days later, or you felt worse a couple days later, but again, that's part of the communication between the therapist and the client.
Yeah, and there's a third scenario where you want to go back to that therapist, but you still have some room for improvement.
Right.
And that must be someone you can tell your constructive criticisms to and see if they can modify their performance to meet your needs.
Right, absolutely.
Or else
Absolutely.
it's just thank you next.
Yeah. And I have to say too, I was talking with a friend of mine who's another friend of mine who's a massage therapist, and like I tend to think of the stressors and the physical manifestations of muscle tension, but she had pointed out to me, and I haven't gone through this, but if some people are going through certain types of treatment, cancer treatments and that sort of thing, that is something that a massage therapist has to know or should know, and it would help. And that's not something I ever thought about. I wouldn't necessarily think to tell the massage therapist about some health issue that wasn't directly related to the skeletal system.
How would you feel if they asked you to divulge more health information that wasn't related to the musculoskeletal system?
I would think.
Well,
Well,
is that good business?
I think it would be good business, but I think it goes back to the communication. If the therapist says that it would help me to know if you have any thyroid issues or if you're going through cancer treatment or have history, I don't know what the question would be, but if the therapist tells me it would help me to know this. Like, for example, as a dietitian, I ask about surgical history. When I have a client and I ask them if you had any surgeries, well, people may be like, what does that have to do with anything? But if they've had certain types of surgeries in the past, it may adjust my recommendation for their specific nutrients.
Right.
And they may not make the connection, like I may not realize there's a connection with getting a massage and something other than the skeletal system, but I trust that they're the professional, and the massage therapist is professional and knows what they're asking. But if somebody's not used to having that question asked, like not everybody's used to the dietitian asking them about their surgery history, because they're like, I'm just eating. I'm like, well, it's a little bit more than that. So the massage therapist communicates that, asking me about endocrine disorders or cancer or other health issues that the massage therapists say this may affect, or I may not go to a certain part of the body because it could trigger something. That's helpful.
Right, circumstances that would affect your massage.
Right.
And that are needed to know.
Right. Like I had a broken foot it was a very bad break, even though I wasn't wearing a cast. I was like, don't touch that foot in that area.
When you were running?
Yeah.
Ouch.
And I explained what it was, but the therapist actually I didn't say so much, don't touch the foot. I was saying, this is an injury I have there.
Right. And
the therapist actually was able to help alleviate some of the pain of the injury. The injury was still there. It was a broken bone. It was a broken, the joint, more of a dislocated joint. But the therapist was able they chose whether to avoid it or do some of the magic, so to speak, that they maybe had more expertise in helping me with it that I didn't even know was something.
So you're delightfully surprised.
I was. So recognizing that I don't say, don't touch me there, it's more of, this is what I have going on here, and I'll leave it up to you to determine whether it's something to avoid or there's something you can do.
That requires a great amount of trust.
Yeah.
Because when you're in pain, it's not everybody you want to try to help or touch you, fix the pain or take it away. If that's something that either you're getting treated for by another medical professional or it just hurts too much to deal with.
Right. Right.
So I would want to know if you had a broken foot.
Yeah. And at the time I wasn't wearing anything other than a boot that could be removed, so it wasn't something, and half the times I wasn't doing it, so that's a whole other story. But it was just recognizing that it was something that may or may not be helped. And like you said, it was the trust. If I was not experienced with going to get massage, I may have just said, don't touch me on the left side or the lower left leg, and totally missed out on something that could have been beneficial.
Right. It's possible that when you go in and something is particularly bothering you, or you had an injury, that needs to be out in the open.
Right. And like I said, going full circle, when I was getting the massage while I was training for the marathon, I very much communicated that I was doing long runs. It is physically hard on the body, and there was the word aggressive is coming to mind in the sense that the therapist was a little bit more aggressive in helping work out some of the stuff in the muscles.
Aggressive.
Yeah, and just getting out there, but also like really manipulating my hips, and which was it was better stretching that the massage therapist was helping me with than I was doing as part of my end of the run routine.
So assisted stretching by someone who knew their way around a stretch was what you needed.
Yes.
And there's a lot of problem solving going on.
Right.
It wasn't just fluff and buff. And
part of me communicating, I'm training for a marathon, I'm coming as a result of doing
serious
a long run, that the therapist was able to address those specific needs. And not everybody understands this if they haven't done it. Running, people tend to think of the lower body, but it really affects the back and even the torso and even the shoulders. And people who haven't gone through this, they don't know that it is pretty much a full body experience. While the lower body is very much abused, the whole body is impacted significantly by that. And I use the word abuse. Those of us who've done long runs like that, half marathon, it is past the point of being beneficial, and it is very hard and abusive to the body to do it. Some people are just crazy.
It takes a certain kind of person.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I teach sports nutrition, and I help athletes with their nutrition. There is diminishing returns once people get past a certain point of their distance or intensity of certain types of activities.
Marathons.
Yes. Yeah.
So what was it? The satisfaction of completing the events?
It was
What was it?
It was a personal goal in the sense of there was ego involved, because my son was not even a teenager yet, and he was running 5Ks. And there was a part of me that said, okay, I want to do a 5K, and straight up, this has been written about in a couple places. My first 5K, I looked beside me, and what turns out to be an 86-year-old woman beat me by just a few seconds. But I was like, it wasn't so much that she beat me, it's that she was 86, and she and I were finishing at the same time. And I'm like, I want to be her one day. And it just kind of grew from a 5K, which is 3 miles, just over 3 miles, to doing longer distances. My favorite distance was the half marathon, but when you're at that point, you're like, okay, let's get at least one marathon. So first 5K, my first registered event, I was 35 years old, and I said I wanted to do a marathon before I was 40, so I gave myself 5 years, and I did it in 4.5 years. So I gave myself time to work up to that. I've known some people who said, I'm going to do a marathon in 6 months, and just pull off some training plan off the internet, and that's not a good thing. It's potentially risky.
Oh, 6 months.
Yeah.
It's not very long.
No, and it's risky. Injury is more likely to happen. But it was just one of those things where it was, for me, it was always a personal accomplishment. Any race I did was to beat my own time, not anybody else in the event, and it was always a personal achievement for me.
So your biggest competition was yourself?
Totally.
And the 87-year-old woman.
Yeah. and my son never really did anything more than a 10K. He did triathlons as a kid, and he liked that. And I did a few of those, but I don't do well in the swimming, just recognizing my weaknesses. So that was that.
Well, it's good for him to have a mom who runs.
Yeah. And my husband was a cyclist. My son was a cyclist, and so he got it from both sides.
Oh, so endurance fitness runs in the family?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. My husband and I were both on a bike team for a while. He was more competitive. I was just there for the fun of it. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could see where you got massage and pursued your athletic goals.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. I just have to say that is very much something where it was a very big part of my recovery, training, and continuing. Straight up my first marathon, where I was really not feeling like I could keep going, I had a massage scheduled for that afternoon at 2 o'clock. So I just kept in my head saying that you have a massage in a couple hours. You have a massage in a couple hours. And that was a total reward. And the next day I felt fine. I felt good for somebody who had just run 26.2 miles the day before. And I attribute that to because I did a massage that same day. I had done other events where I didn't do a massage, and I did not feel good. So it wasn't good to be in San Antonio after doing a marathon and then having to deal with stairs at the Riverwalk, and I didn't have a massage. And I did.
Your legs were on fire.
They were. And I was worried that I was going to fall downstairs because of the delayed onset muscle soreness related to the actual event.
Yeah.
And then I learned that the times that I didn't have massage, I was more sore 2 days afterwards. So I started scheduling the massage for that 2 days afterwards. that was my experiences.
Well, yeah, well, that's a great shout out to the massage industry.
Yeah,
It was something to look forward to.
yeah,
It got you over the delayed onset hump that
yeah,
allows you to enjoy your sport
yeah, yeah,
and not have to have it interfered with by pain.
right, right, yeah. And I just tell people, you know, running is not for everybody. The endurance athlete aspect, it's not for everybody. And again, like we were saying, massage isn't for everybody. I'm not here to say necessarily that people need to do an endurance sport or even necessarily a high intensity sport, but recognize that the recovery of what they're doing may help them, because a lot of times people feel so much pain following doing something intense that they completely stop. And that's never going to be a good thing. We always want people to be physically active, and so if they're experiencing pain, especially muscle soreness, not so much pain, but the soreness, two different things, pain versus soreness, that the soreness can be alleviated with treatments, including massage, and that happens to be my number one recommendation for that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a message that I'm trying to broadcast, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you agree. That,
Yeah. And the bottom line, again,
It's
I
good
should
for
say
you.
bottom line, but one of the key points is that once you're on the table, in the process of getting the massage, who is giving it, as long as they're a good massage therapist,
Right.
the gender never mattered.
Mhm.
Once I got over that issue myself.
That's what the massage therapists, veterans also say about new male massage therapists.
Yeah,
Once you know what you're doing and you're working with the right people, doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman.
it doesn't. And I could not tell you, if you had put me in a room and I hadn't met the person, not that we do that, but I hadn't met the person, I probably 95% of the time wouldn't be able to tell you whether it was male or female,
As long as it was good.
as long as it was good. Yeah, and they had heard my
And they addressed
concerns.
your
Yeah.
pain points,
Yeah,
so to speak.
yep,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah,
Great, Shelley.
Yeah.
I think that about covers it.
good, good,
Is
yeah.
there anything else you wanted to add, or?
I would just say, I would just encourage people to have an open mind, and you know, there's a lot of us who may have hang-ups about things, and just recognize that it's more inside us and not so much who's giving us the treatment.
Oh, so get out of our own head
Yeah.
and take a chance every
Yeah.
once in a while.
That, when, in talking to people, the massage therapist is dealing with the muscle, and they're not, in the physical body, but they're not paying attention to the cosmetic side of things.
No,
Yeah.
they aren't, not if they're a therapeutic massage therapist.
Right,
And the basic muscle and bone structure, minus a couple of small differences, is the same.
right, right.
So
Yeah.
there's that.
Yeah, yeah, anatomy and physiology virtually the same with a few differences.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
When it comes
absolutely.
to muscles and skeletons.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
Good deal.
no, nothing to add, anything else you wanna ask me?
No,
Okay.
pretty much covers it.
All right, awesome, awesome, yeah.
Sure you don't need a glass of water?
No, I'm
or,
good.
what's next for your agenda on
I-
Thursday afternoon?
I get to go to the grocery store.